Hello guys, I'm back. You know, one thing we Slavs, especially us Balkans, love more than hating our neighbors is drinking and hating our neighbors. And as you probably already know, I'm an expert in two fields, fitness and drinking. And since we'll be talking about the latter today, welcome to my first special video. When this channel had only a few dozen subscribers, I promised you that I would occasionally do something interesting, you know, to keep things spicy. So if fitness advice and calling out alpha males are the classics or the missionary of this channel, videos like this one will be the backshots, raw and wild. Anyway, if my YouTube analytics are not wrong, there's a very high chance that you, the one listening to me right now, are somewhere between 18 and 30 years old. These are the years when you finish high school, the years when you're in college and experience everything that comes with it, and the years when you meet the most people and ultimately experience the most things. So the million-dollar question is, what do these things have in common? And since summer is knocking on our doors, I decided to make this Matos drinking guide for you guys. This video will be like some kind of Bible of drinking, and by the end of it you will know everything you need to know about getting wasted. We will start by describing 4 stages of intoxication, how to get to those stages and how to stay at those stages without crossing the line, aka getting to the point of no return. After this, we'll talk about what is the best or the worst kind of company to spend such events with, and when and how often to imbibe without having any serious negative side effects, especially in the gym. I think that introduction was long enough, and I do love long introductions, as you probably know, so now let's just fill our glasses and start our engines. Stage 0. There is not much to complicate here, you are sober. This is where everyone starts. Stage 1. You've sparkled the fire. You've had just enough liquor to start feeling the first effects of the devil's juice. You usually reach this stage after 2 or 3 beers or 2 or 3 shots. Here you typically become more talkative, you start speaking louder and you quickly join in on all sorts of conversations. Many people really like this first stage and their goal for the evening socializing is to reach and stay at this stage. An additional advantage of this stage is that you practically won't have a hangover the next day. Even in the worst case, if you're really very sensitive to alcohol or something, you'll have only a very mild headache, if that. So the first stage is the go-to for any evening out with the boys at the bar during the week. And as I mentioned earlier, you usually get there with 2 or 3 beers and then you stay there with an additional beer every 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the individual. Now let's shift into a higher gear. Stage 2. This is where things get interesting. This is the stage of drunkenness. You know you're genuinely drunk and everyone around you who looks at you sees the same picture. This guy is definitely enjoying the evening. Once we reach this stage, a hangover the next morning is practically unavoidable, but it still won't be unbearable and will at worst last 1 day. To reach the second stage, you obviously need to consume a little bit more liquid. The best and the safest way, recommended by Matos, is to slowly build up the first stage, or in other words, slowly add fuel to the fire. I really love using this analogy because it's simply the best one. With 2 or 3 beers or shots in the first stage, you've lit the fire, and now it's up to you to decide how much you want to fan the flames. My holy advice is this: whatever drink you started the evening with and successfully reached the first stage with, stick with that drink and just consume a little bit more of it. Now let's get this out of the way first, so I won't forget to mention it later. For the love of God, or whatever you believe in, do not mix drinks. If you started with beers, stick with the beers. If you're doing Jaeger bombs, stick with Jaeger bombs, and so on. Now, how much more do you have to drink? Based on my numerous experiences and research, add a good half of what got you to the first stage. If that was 3 shots, drink 1 more, slightly larger shot, and you will quickly see where you stand. If that's still not enough, and you want just a little bit more, add a good half again, and so on. And lo and behold, congratulations, you've reached the second stage. You're almost euphoric, your heart is beating faster, you're full of energy, everything around you seems extremely funny, and your confidence is at its peak. Now you go up to that girl you like, and even if she rejects you, you just don't care. However, you are still aware of 90% of the things happening around you. So what do you do now? You stop. And I mean that seriously. You might have thought that I was complicating things too much with that equation about adding a good half, but believe me, I'm not. All that's needed to stay in this stage without stepping over the edge is to drink what your last amount of drink was every 30 to 40 minutes. In our case, one shot. Drinking water or any other non-alcoholic drink in between is highly recommended. Why am I so precise here? Let's go back to our fire analogy. You all know that gasoline is very flammable, and if you're not extra careful when adding it to the fire, we can practically lose control in a second and can no longer manage the fire, no matter what we do. And it's exactly the same with drinking. I swear I couldn't find a better comparison. When you're in this stage, even one beer or one shot too much or too quickly can be fatal. Boom! Suddenly you lose control. You no longer understand what's happening, and things go from this to this. You're fucked. Welcome to the stage 3. You've reached the point of no return, and just like Gandalf once said,
"Things are now in motion that cannot be undone."
No matter what you do, you're going to puke. If this is your first time, you can say that you've lost your drinking virginity. You're extremely drunk, you are hammered. You walk like a barrel on springs, bumping and staggering around, and no matter how hard you try, you can't form a coherent sentence. Arguably, the first few minutes of this stage can still be fun, and you start chugging everything that's offered to you because it all tastes the same, and you don't know what you're drinking anyway. But very quickly, this fun turns into agony, and you go out like a candle in the wind. Now your friends, if they're still sober of course, want to help you. It is from here on where everybody gets it wrong. Everyone says, just drink lots of water, come on, give me some water, just lie down, try to rest, and so on. Now let me enlighten you real quick and tell you that this is all complete nonsense. No amount of water will magically wash out everything you've consumed that evening. Alcohol is in your bloodstream and there is no other solution but to calm down and wait it out. Yes, a glass or two of water is beneficial, but don't expect it to serve as some kind of magic healing anti-drunk potion from Elder Scrolls that will sober you up, because it won't. When it comes to laying down and trying to rest, there is absolutely no fucking way this will work, and it won't help you one bit because the dizziness will be so intense that you'll feel sick in a second. And this is hands down the worst feeling in the world. Right after a Taylor Swift concert, of course. If you experienced it only once, you know what I'm talking about. In that hour or so of agony, dizziness and nausea, you want nothing more than just to die. At that moment, you look up to the sky and recite the famous prayer, "I swear I will never drink again." All you can do is sit upright or find a position where you feel the least dizzy, stare at one point and occasionally puke until you feel at least a little better. This can last an hour or two, however long it will feel much longer. Now you have plenty of time to reflect on the decisions you made that evening. Oh, and one more thing. If you somehow managed to pull a girl and wanted to have something with her, forget it. Alcohol has done its job down there as well. And if you really don't want to screw up the situation more than you already have, you have only one option left. Drink a glass of water and try to go to sleep, of course after you're sobered up at least a bit. In any case, the hangover the next day will be pure hell. There is also a high chance that you'll wake up with a suspiciously large and wet stain on your pants. And all day long, you'll feel like someone is drilling through your skull right into your brain. Anything you eat, or God forbid drink, will most likely end up in the toilet, of course exiting through your mouth. If this kind of adventure happens to you during the weeknight, the best solution is to call your boss next morning and say you've caught a cold or virus and that you will rest today. No joke, this is actually the best solution because you'll still have so much alcohol in your bloodstream that you shouldn't even think about getting behind the wheel. And that's it, the somber ending of the stage 3. But before we continue, let me tell you that there's another stage. Yes, stage 4. The vast majority of people, like at least 90%, will never be able to reach this stage. Just like with bodybuilding, a lot of it depends on genetics here. So what is this fourth stage and who can reach it? I call this stage the second wind, or the resurrection. Let's go back a few minutes. Do you remember in the third stage where I said you suddenly go out like a candle in the wind? Well, every so often a miracle happens. You know that one friend who blacks out and we all think it's over for him, but then just out of the blue he opens his eyes, stands up like a gladiator and says, "Where is my glass, bitches?" And then he drinks 3 times more than before and somehow survives. Scientists are still trying to find the cause of this second wind, but unsuccessfully. In my humble opinion, the usual cause of this revival is a good song, a certified hood classic that serves as an adrenaline injection. And as I mentioned earlier, to achieve something like this, you simply have to be built different. It must be in your blood. I would say that besides us, Slavs obviously, only the Scots and the Irish are capable of this. If I forgot to mention anyone else, please write it in the comments. And let's move on. To truly enjoy your drinking adventure, besides the booze of course, the group of people you're with is also of great importance. And that's why the second half of this video will be dedicated to discussing which types of people it's worth, or in this case, not worth going out and hit the bars with. And yes, I intentionally said bars and not clubs, because the club just isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Oh wait. So the first type of friends/people you definitely don't want to go anywhere with where there are people are, guess who? The Red Pillars, Andrew Tate listeners, Austin Dunham listeners, the Sigma males, self-proclaimed hustlers, etc. And I know that this one is pretty obvious, but seriously, these are the people who lack social skills the most. They literally have 0 social cues, and they will destroy the vibe, believe me. And God forbid that you bring them around girls, because in that case, they play the role of scarecrows in the field. Just imagine this scenario. You're flirting with a nice lady, and you're really into her, she's hot. You slowly get to the first or second stage and you say, fuck it, let's do it. This is one pressure penalty, but you are a brave boy. You approach her, you start talking to her, things are going surprisingly smoothly, you ask her for her number, and she smiles and pulls out her phone. But then, just as you're about to win this title, Mr. Red Pill shows up and says, "Yeah bro, where you've been? I see you found yourself a nice dishwasher here, hahaha. You escaped from the kitchen or something?" And just like that, her smile disappears, and she says, "Oh, that's your friend? Yeah, you know what, I think I have to go to the toilet. See you later." Spoiler alert, you'll never see her again. Do you really want this to happen? I don't think so. And this doesn't only apply to situations with girls. These frustrated idiots will ruin the atmosphere everywhere, even if it's just a classic home party with the boys. I swear, these people are like vampires, but instead of blood they're sucking good vibes. A real-life Dementors. Now, the second type of friends that you don't want to take with you to the bars or clubs are the ones who are constantly looking for trouble. They just don't know how to chill. Even when they are 100% sober, they will find a way to get you all into shit. I'm talking about fighting, breaking things, running away and hiding from the cops and all that crazy stuff. And don't forget, all of this without even touching a drink. When these hotheads have 3 shots inside them, the evening is practically over. They will start bumping into other people and asking them, "Do you have problems? Do you want to taste this fist, you little cunt? You gonna keep looking at me or what?" And before you know it, you're in the middle of a fight and you get kicked out from the bar, or like I said, you're running from cops. Now, I'm not gonna lie, 1 or 2 such experiences in your teenage years can make for some funny memories, because after all, bad ideas make the best memories, but on the other side, this becomes very annoying very quickly. So my advice, avoid such people and such scenarios at all costs, because again, it just kills the good vibes. So now you know how to drink and what kind of people to avoid in order to enjoy your time of intoxication, but there is 2 more things I want to tell you before I end this video and go back to coaching clients. Now first we have to address the question when it's even worth getting drunk. So let's look at the occasions when people drink. On one hand, we have joyful events, such as various celebrations, reunions with friends after a long time, and all those wonderful things. Here's another very wise piece of advice from the old wolf Matos. If you drink, do it on such occasions. Even if you cross the line and spend the next day in agonizing pain, you will very likely still be happy. Because, for example, your college degree will still be there if that's what you are celebrating, and you will have a few good laughs with your friends, since the good mood from the previous evening will somehow carry over to the next day, if you understand me. However, on the other side, there is drinking to forget things, like a breakup or depression, because sometimes life just sucks. This is the worst and the most dangerous form of drinking. This is how alcoholics are born, and on such occasions you should never even touch alcohol, because this is just a downward spiral. You will likely get hammered, and the aftermath will be the exact opposite of the previous example. That bad thing will very much still be there, and you will just be in a much worse mood, because on top of everything you now have to deal with a hangover. So yes guys, never drown your sorrows in alcohol. Go out for a walk into nature, breathe in some fresh air, and start looking for a solution. That's it. And the one last thing for today. How frequently should you drink without having any negative side effects on your health and gym progress? Because don't forget, this is a fitness channel. Bruh. Well, it's really not that complicated. Going out with the boys and reaching stage 1 every now and then, let's say every 2 to 3 weeks, will have practically zero effects on your body, especially when you're still young. And when it comes to stage 2, leave that one for the summer or some special occasions. Definitely don't make it too frequent, regardless of your age. Stage 3 and 4, well, leave that one to Matos. If you like this kind of special videos and want to see more of them every now and then, write me down in the comments. And also, you can share your fun experience there if you have one, so we can all laugh together. Like and share for the algorithm. Bye bye.